morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, welcome to Football Talk. And, of course, this is the Wednesday wrap-up. And I'm here with my guys, Mr. U and Herb. And, grab some coffee, hang out with us, and let's kick this thing off. How you guys doing?
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's go.
Did you say this is going to be the Wednesday rant or the Wednesday wrap up?
Because it was kind of going that way, right?
Pretty much.
But of course, we got to kick this off with the national championship game. Congrats to our guy, Mr. U. Michigan does pull it off, and they really poured it on at the end there. But one of the things that was very interesting in the beginning of that game was you could tell that Washington was definitely worried about the run game, so they were hyper aggressive on defense, and that really had them out of position, which let those big plays happen at the beginning of the game. And then they kind of settled down, and it became a real game again. And they battled back. They're down 7 at half. You're looking at it like, hey, this is a real game. And then even through the third quarter, it was a tight battle. And then halfway through the fourth, when they were trying to play catch up, Penix just didn't have enough time. That Michigan front was no joke, and he was moved off his spot pretty much all day. But what'd you guys think of the game? I mean, it was a fun game, other than right there at the end.
Well, since Herb is sipping, I go ahead and start talking. But yeah,
I didn't watch most of the game, so I figured this would be a you thing.
That's right. He was deep in that pickleball championship.
Yeah, just trying to figure out which team I'm gonna follow, and that sort of thing.
My brother.
He's out here repping the backyard bruisers. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. As much as I want to confront that, because I'm not gonna do that today. But I just
confront the way, sir. Don't start it and don't finish it. Confront the way.
I'm not gonna start it. But this game was crazy to me in a lot of ways, because I don't get to share the story too much, and there's a history behind it. Maybe perhaps you guys can remind me about it. Maybe Monday we can go into a little bit deeper. But this is a long history with me and Michigan. As a matter of fact, I think I won't give them the full credit, but they've kept me from some really bad situations in life. If I wasn't watching Michigan on a Saturday afternoon, I could have been in some stuff. That's kind of where I grew up at. So I credit, that for a lot. So there was a lot of history. So when all this stuff was starting to culminate, there was a lot of emotion going on in my house. Let me just put it like that. But the game was incredible, man. I thought that Washington was concerned about the run. I also thought that they were concerned about the middle. I felt that they protected that pretty well. But I always thought that the O-line for Washington was not going to be able to stand up against us. And I kind of think that kind of played out. I was shocked by what I saw Penix doing. There was some drop passes that could have been, not necessarily scores, but it could have been some big yardage plays. I was surprised.
He hit on the wrong side. The one that the receiver turned the wrong direction, that was a score. Like, if he hits him in stride, he's gone.
Yeah. I think it was pretty accurate. He was we got them to play our game. I think we talked about that on Monday. I think it was Monday morning. If they play our game, you're not winning.
Yep.
If we try to get into an air raid situation, they're gonna win, because JJ, I feel like he's a very competent quarterback. I don't think that he does that the way Penix does. I'll just put it like that. Best way to word it without insulting anybody, I guess. But he doesn't do what Penix does in that regard. So when I saw them slowing the game down, we only finished our first quarter, and it was like 7-0, something like that. I kind of knew right then that unless they adjust in the second half dramatically, the game was already over. And we scored 14 points, and actually it's all we needed to score to win the game. So I knew that we slowed everything down. The defense was number one in the country for a reason, and they really showed it again. I was surprised about a lot of the hand fighting going on out there. I'm like, I didn't see that too often in other games. Will Johnson, these guys kind of grabby. I'm like, okay, maybe it was always going on. I just didn't see it. But I'm proud of it.
They did seem to let them kind of play, right? Because there were some obvious holds on both sides that didn't flags, some pass interferences that you're just like, okay, like the rest of the year, this is probably a flag, but they're letting these boys play today.
Yeah, I mean, this was an incredible game, man. I mean, Penix was throwing a lot, and I don't know if we wanted that or not, but I didn't have a big, great feeling about their running game. So I'm kind of feeling like, okay, they're going to force Penix to do a lot of throwing. Threw 27 out of 51 for 255 yards. He was throwing the ball. I don't know. I mean, you watch more of the game, Bo. Was that normal for him to throw that much, or is that?
Yeah, it's a pass first offense for sure.
Okay.
So
51 attempts is normal.
I mean, that's probably a little bit high, but at the same time, they started down, right? So you're playing catch up the whole game. So that does sort of dictate whether or not you can run the ball. Plus, your front was really limiting the effectiveness of the Washington running game. So they had to rely heavily on the pass game. And again, if he didn't have some of those drops out there, he probably would have been another 5 or 6 completions and another 100 yards, right? Because that one that was, the receiver turned the wrong way, that's like a 40-yard strike for a touchdown there. So, I mean, the complexion of the game changes, and obviously the stat line changes. I don't think this really hurts his draft stock in any way, right? If anything, it probably solidified the fact that if you were worried about injuries, like he battled through getting beat up that game, right? Like they may have only got 1 sack on him, but if you see the quarterback hurry numbers, like they got to be almost every play. So
be astronomical. Yeah.
I mean, so it's not like he ever had a clean pocket where he was able to sit back there and just direct, right? So I don't think it's going to hurt his draft stock in any way. I think he's still probably going to be that 15 to 18 range, right? Now, had he won, then maybe he pops his head into that top 10, right?
Yeah, but I don't know where he actually is. All I'm doing is mock drafting.
Sure.
I'm just telling you, I did like about 6 or 7 different mock drafts, different organizations, and they all had him in the same place, early second round. That don't mean it's gonna be the real thing's gonna happen that way, because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams out there right now. And on top of that, all this stuff we talk about with the coaches getting fired, they're probably gonna get new QBs. Kind of match what they want to do offensively. So who knows? Somebody might dip down and grab him a lot earlier than what that mock draft is saying. But I don't know. I don't think his draft stock was hurt if you're going by the mock part. If it's something that you expect him to be in the first round and it's going to be a guarantee, that part I'm not really sure about.
Yeah. Those
injuries, man. He was injured for 4 years straight with major injuries for 4 years. Two shoulders and 2 ACLs. It's like I'm talking about 2019 and 2018, 2019, 2021, and 2020 and 2020, excuse me. For 4 years straight. I mean, that's not a great thing to have on your resume. I mean, it's his life, it's what happened, but that's going to be an impact to some degree, especially if a team doesn't reach for a quarterback. He may be in that second round conversation for real, and maybe even mid-second round, which is a lot lower. Not because of the game and how he played. I think he ran into a buzzsaw defensively. It ain't because he didn't have skills. He's been balling all year, so you got to give him props for that stuff.
Yep.
But I don't know the injury part. I think we need to add it into or factor it in to his stock value.
It's definitely some of it. His age is too, right? Because he's
he's a 6-year guy, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the age plays a role. The injury history plays a role. I'm just saying this loss, I don't think hurts where he would fall. Like he showed a lot of mental toughness to, and physical toughness to, I mean, it looked like his ribs were pretty much toast halfway through the fourth quarter and he was still out there battling. Right. So, I mean, and he was still throwing accurately. So it's not like it was affecting that. He just, in between plays, you could tell he was in a rough spot. But if you're a scout, you got to be encouraged by that. Be like, okay, well, even when he's getting hammered out there, he can battle through. He's still making good decisions, right? The interception at the end there, it was 4th down anyway. He was just throwing a prayer up because he was about to get smashed. I mean, that interception, I don't really feel bad about it because what else are you going to do? You're turning it over on downs if you don't chuck it. So you just throw a prayer out there and hope. But yeah, I mean, if you're a scout, you're looking at it like, okay, clearly the ACLs are holding up, right? Surgically repaired, sure. But I mean, he just had an entire game of 6'5" monsters hitting him just about every play. So
it was a long night for him.
It was
a really long night for him.
It was. So, and then, on the other end of it, he was still able to deliver the ball through, getting injured and everything. So I think he's probably still that mid to late first round just because of the amount of teams that need a quarterback. And of course, the amount of teams that are going to have new coaches and they're going to want new toys on the roster.
I'll be shocked, man. I'll be shocked if he goes mid first round. I'll really be shocked.
Yeah.
He's closer to where Lamar Jackson went.
Yeah, I've seen as many where he's like more early second round. And to the earlier point, they had some interviews with execs, of course, anonymous all the time, but the injury history and age was their two biggest things. So, I guess like the combine and the physicals will be like very big for him. So I think he did show a lot getting through this year. But I think that's it. I mean, he throws a great ball. I don't like his throwing motion at all, but it gets where it needs to get most of the time. So, but I do think I would not be shocked to see him end up middle second round just because of that.
It's the whole idea of the draft. I'm excited about talking about it, but I'm also kind of nervous because it's kind of stressful because I'm like, okay, as a Giants fan, if we don't take a quarterback now I think we're at 6 instead of 5. Which doesn't change anything I said earlier this week. But we had 6. We don't take a QB there. Where's that happening at? Is taking Penix a good idea in the second round? Is that what we really want to do? Is that going to be good for us going forward? It's stressful. If it's not him,
Penix
who is it?
Penix
it's like
is not your guy. Penix is not your guy. He's not mobile enough. You need like a Bo Nix. Because you're not going to be able to fix everything about. But he's more mobile. He's going to be a second round pick. So, like, if you were going to go for a second round quarterback,
I told you, I don't think he's getting past Denver. I'm telling you.
I mean, he's slated he's slated as like the 6th quarterback.
Yeah. So
if that's the case, that's second round most likely. It could be early second round, but that's realistically probably second round. So I mean, if you guys got a guy like that, now, whether or not you love him, whatever, but the way he plays would work well with the fact that your offensive line isn't great and you're not going to be able to fix that completely this offseason, right? Like that, the team has plenty of needs. So, if you had a little bit more of a mobile. Yeah, if you had a little bit more mobile quarterback, then I think that helps your team more than like a Penix that, let's be honest, he can scramble if he has to, but he's not a dynamic runner that's gonna go make a play for you. Like that's just not who he is. It's not how he plays.
Don't you keep Daniel Jones out there for 1 year anyway, and whoever you draft sits for the year?
I think you have to.
Depends on his recovery. I mean, he's recovering from ACL. I don't know what he's going to look like when the season
you know what? Stick him out there and save the other guy anyway. Have him out there on crutches.
I mean,
they did that this season already. So
I was going to say they already did that to Jones this year, right? He was sacked 11 times. They're like, get out there, buddy. Like,
well, in that top 4. I mean, everybody watching the top 10 of the draft more than anything else. They just start phasing out until their team comes up. You know how people do. But that top 4 for me is huge. Not even the top 5, the top 4. That's huge for me. Because if a certain quarterback, who I would really like that to happen, if a certain quarterback drops down, ain't no way in the world we ain't taking him. There ain't no way.
Yeah.
If we don't, y'all better call and check on me. Oh, don't text me. Call me. Make sure I'm all right.
I'll just drive by. the house.
Just come on by the house and let me
know. I'll go by the house. I'll come check on you.
Because I might need some assistance. Because if that man drops down there to 6, we got to take him quick. Forget Nix and Penix. We need to take that man. But yeah, another story altogether. But the game was incredible, man. It was, like I said, a lot of emotion. I don't know what's going to happen with some of these guys. But like a JJ, I think he leans towards staying, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think he's a first round pick, so I don't know what's going to happen with that.
The thing that's crazy is they have him slated a lot, like on where these quarterbacks would fall. If JJ does end up coming into the NFL, they have him ahead of Bo Nix. That was surprising.
Yeah. Like even I'm looking at CBS right now, and they have him at number 5.
Yeah.
On the quarterback rankings, not
five,
yeah,
five.
no, exactly.
I'm like
Quarterback
oh,
ranking. Quarterback
No,
ranking.
not just for the quarterbacks. Yeah, and that's the list I was talking about. So
Okay.
it's
yeah. Look, I definitely want to see that. So at 5,
Well, I mean, what Williams and May are like what just basically considered 1 and 2.
sure.
And then James Daniels has kind of worked his way in at 3. I think that's fluctuated. The CBS has Penix at 4, but I've seen him as up because they have Bo Nix at like 8. So I've just seen a lot of fluctuation after really the first 2, honestly.
This is at 8. So who's at 6 and 7?
Shedeur Sanders and Quinn Ewers, who both of those probably are going back to school. Or Ewers definitely is.
well, Sanders was too.
Yeah.
So that's a weird list.
Yeah.
Also, I think is inaccurate. like you're gonna have.
I think the mock draft just put everybody in there because I mean Sanders and Ewers, they've been in the mock draft. Everyone I've done, they've been in it. I'm like, did they tell you that we're coming out? I didn't hear that. So
Sanders, I thought definitely said it.
Yeah, Sanders said he wasn't coming.
Yeah, I think so.
Said he was going.
I thought his dad announced it that he was coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. His dad's like, "You're not going, son."
Yes.
Yes.
Like wow.
Yeah, and Quinn definitely said he was coming back to
He
Texas.
needed more time, and I agree. I think he does need more time. I said
Oh,
that
he definitely does.
He
definitely does.
Ewers, I wasn't even thinking about him, so I didn't know whether he was coming out or not. I had no.
No, he said he was going back to Texas this year. So
good.
It's funny. You look over at PFF and they have Bo Nix at the 4th quarterback. So, like I said, there's a lot of fluctuation. Yeah, Bo Nix at 4 and Penix at 5.
I never put a lot of belief in Pro Football Focus, just because some of the stuff they put out, you're just like, what are you even talking about? Do you watch the games? Like, so. Like some of their lists make sense, and then some of them you're just like, "What are you even talking about right now?"
Well, either way, man.
Why, I try to look at a bunch of different ones, but it's kind of, I mean, how much do you trust any of them, really? Well, each coach is going to match a different thing.
Yeah, well, and of course, once it becomes draft day, who knows, right? There's all kinds of weird stuff that goes down. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's why I always laugh about mock drafts. It's like you're never right. Like you might get close on a couple, but you're never right. Because there's always just so many like GM trading pieces things that you can't even, you have no idea how they come about. And then when they come through and you're just like, why would you do that? So, but I guess, this is a good place to segue into, Harbaugh gets the championship, gets a ring, and now has nothing left to prove for Michigan. So does he go ahead and take that NFL job, especially now that it does sound like the NCAA wants to pursue a year suspension? As a coach, do you say, hey, I got the ring, I brought it to my alma mater, let's go back to the NFL, see if we can win a ring in both? I don't know. Where do you think he's going to be?
I think he goes. And I mean, I guess that's from the outsider view for sure. I would go if I would already flirting with that already. And it seems to be like maybe a passion of his anyway, or something to prove for him, either however you want to phrase it. Mm-hmm. You've done the best you can, and you brought them back to national prominence for real. You've conquered Ohio State. You won national championship, won undefeated. I mean, next year can only go down, right? For here, no matter what happens, right? Unless you're navigating a whole nother undefeated season, right? The first game you lose, people are going to say something. I mean, I don't know. You throw in all those factors, man. But the biggest one, you won the biggest thing there is to do in college. I'd go. So,
well, and of course,
outsider's view, but yes,
with the way the conferences are becoming, right? Because Pac-12's falling apart, the teams are going everywhere else. The odds of having undefeated seasons moving forward is going to go way down. Right. So now these conferences are so much bigger and the competition's getting better. So, it's not like there's 2 schools in a conference now. Now you're going to have 4 or 5 schools that can absolutely beat you. And then, of course, the conference championship is also going to be against one of those teams. So it's not like you're the first time you see, a top team in another conference is in a bowl game. Like, you're going to have them all throughout the year.
Correct. Yep.
So, I mean, these undefeated seasons are going to start to fade away.
Yeah. And you haven't even added in like the one out of conference game you have that's a good one. So it's like, exactly. Do I even want to play a good out of conference game when my conference is now this much harder? Like everybody's going to be trying to schedule Vanderbilt, I guess. And like Illinois.
Oh, man. Some slight
Vanderbilt. I'm just saying, when they asked us about like who you'd want to schedule and like if you want to replace Auburn at the end of the year, I'm like, give me Vanderbilt, That's
Eastern Washington
fine.
Eagles.
Yes, I'm fine with that, I'm totally fine with that.
I'm with you, Tulsa, Temple.
I'm good. No, hey, those guys are tough in something, I'm sure. So, I have no problem paying those people to come to our stadium and take a beat down real quick.
Harbaugh's an enigma, man. This is probably one of the toughest questions that anybody can ask me right now regarding sports. It's probably number one with a bullet because he's so enigmatic and you can't tell where he's coming from. I mean, almost like Belichickian, but even to another level. Yep. I guess Belichickian with more personality, put it like that. I mean, you can't really tell. Does he feel more alive with these young kids, or is that forbidden fruit of a Super Bowl that he was so close to grabbing? Is that still kind of stuck in his craw? He wants that. It's kind of hard to tell which way he's leaning. Mm-hmm. I kind of would have heard on this one though. I think when you hit the pinnacle like this, and it's so much. I don't want to go into the suspension and stuff because it's so ridiculous. I mean, my timeline's getting blown up with nonsense. He was suspended for 6 games. What else you want, man? His firstborn? I mean, come on. I don't know how much
does he have kids?
I don't know.
I'm no idea. Before they're born, they already signed away. But it's like I'm like, but what? I'm like, this is crazy to me for a lot of reasons because I really don't get what you wanted to see happen. I mean, I always talk about my time in the corporate with the government. My director didn't know stuff. I'm sorry. Maybe he wasn't a good director. Maybe he was a fine director. He didn't know things that I knew. I was on ground level. I seen the stuff that was happening, the corners that was getting cut. He did not know until I told him. He didn't know. So it's like, everybody like Harbaugh is Harbaugh. I'm like, okay, people were involved and stuff, but you sure it was him?
Well, so the thing is you're the one.
Hold on, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. That wasn't my point of all this stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Or
no,
I hear all the time. Say, imagine what he hears.
Yeah, but if you're directing the ship, whether you knew it or not, it's still on you.
I get that. So how many games did it take? It's been 6. How many did it take?
The first 3 weren't for that, though.
Yeah, there's 2 differences.
The first 3 were for buying a kid a cheeseburger. So,
which in the NIL age is really hilarious to me.
Right?
So
makes no sense.
They're buying kids whole McDonald's out here, and you're getting in trouble for a cheeseburger. I also go ahead and say this because an SEC official came out after the game and was like, "Everybody is stealing signs," and he's like, "It's happening everywhere." I'll be honest, in the middle, I know some people are outraged, but I was like, I don't know. I just didn't really care about this scandal, to be honest. It's like
it's the Georgia coach
when Georgia beat them, he even said he was like, didn't look like they were stealing signs to me. And then some of the teams they picked, I was like, you were going to beat them anyway. But some of y'all just couldn't beat Michigan. Like we didn't feel like that in our game. We just felt like they beat us. We didn't feel like, oh, they had advanced. I mean, they probably had advanced information because they actually watched the film of us play, and we were pretty much that team, But I didn't like stealing signs. I was not fazed by that whole thing. I honestly did not care.
The thing is, even if you steal signs, it's not like somebody pitching where you know the pitch that's coming, because that would make a difference. If you know the alignment, okay, great. There's like 20 plays you can run out of any of them, and you still have to have all 11 dudes stop that play. Right? Yeah. It's not like banging a trash can knowing that you got a slider coming, right? Like This is, you still have to stop the play. So I don't know. I mean, again, you watched film on other teams. It was called scouting. So why this is a big thing, I don't know. I think it's dumb. I think it's one of those non-issues. Plus, I mean, if you want to get rid of that, put the speaker in the helmet like the NFL has, and then you don't have to put signs out there at all. So it's
just answer the question. I think that at this point, she wants to be a champion for players' rights, which it seems like he's gearing toward that. That's why he's getting some of this slack in the first place, because he wants to try to make things better for the players, and the organization does not really want to do that. So unless he wants to be a champion for that, he should stay. But if not, I think he's leaving. I hate the whole Las Vegas Raiders idea for a couple of reasons. The family is not going to give him more control, but they don't have a franchise quarterback there either, and they're going to have to probably draft one. If he goes to the Chargers, which is what's being speculated, he'll probably be let me reverse that. The Raiders are going to give him more control, but he doesn't have a franchise quarterback there. The Spanos family with the Chargers, they're going to probably give him less control. They're probably not going to give him the keys to the whole house, but they got a franchise quarterback in Herbert, a new stadium. His personality is always an X factor. You don't know how you're going to rub off. Mark Davis might love that. Dean Spanos might be like, oh, I don't know. So this is kind of weird. When he hired Don Yee, I knew there's always going to be a chance.
He does have a personality that grates on organizations over time. So, I mean, that definitely can be an issue, right?
Yeah.
But
he's eccentric, to say the least. Yeah.
I hope the Raiders aren't in play, because I think Pierce had done enough to let him have a shot.
I agree.
Because that team looked way different after McDaniels got out of there. Pierce takes over. They responded. Did they win a ton of games? No. But, I mean, did you expect them to? No.
Right.
I mean, you got, a backup quarterback as your starter now. You got a bunch of pieces that aren't quite there. You got guys that are injured. Like, this is not a recipe for success. Right. So, but even in losses, the team looked better than it did earlier in the year. So I hope he did enough to get real consideration for that job. So, I don't think Harbaugh was ever really in for the Raiders anyway, but that one I hope they are able to do in-house.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
A constant conversation still. It's still happening. And the Giants got to open it at DC. So if Pierce can't get a job, he need a job, coming back home, DC, we could use you, baby. Yeah, it'll work.
You see the parallel kind of with Carolina at the end of last year, firing their coach. They play hard. They want the interim coach to get the job. They don't. And then they fire the next guy, halfway through the season anyway. Is it something against interim coaches? Like, I just, hey, the players love this guy. They're playing hard for him. Let's still go get someone else. Like, I never understand that dynamic.
Well, and that's actually kind of why I think the Raiders will give Pierce a real shot, because they had that before where they fired somebody, their interim did okay, and then no shot.
Yeah.
There's a history with this, and forgive me, I can't remember the details. It happened so many times. There's a history with this, though. When you give him a shot, give him a shot at what with what? Because right now, if he gets his job,
sure,
O'Connell, he ain't in. So you basically giving him a shot with a very, very fluid situation. So if it doesn't work out well, which it probably won't, because somebody new got to be back there. Not Connor, he's not the franchise guy.
Yeah. And there's a reason why you fired the last coach, because it wasn't going right.
You gotta give
Pierce is the lamed up. It's not fair. I seen that multiple times. You guys probably can remember it. We see that multiple times. Matter of fact, I think it was Todd Bowles. It wasn't Todd Bowles. It was the other man. Yeah, I think the guy at Arizona. I'm blanking on his name right now. Oh man, he's one of the examples I had though. He was that guy. They gave him a shot. He was interim, gave him a shot, but their quarterback wasn't good. Obviously, they didn't do well. Guess what happened to him? He got axed. I don't want Pierce to go through that. It ain't right, man.
If you're Pierce, you got to have that conversation. Be like, hey, this team needs a lot of pieces. Like, I need an assurance that this isn't going to be what?
Oh, talk to him first. that'll
No,
make him
I
not
mean,
fire you. Oh,
yeah,
have a
like
conversation.
you're going to have that conversation where you're like, hey, this is going to take some time because we got to rebuild something that was mishandled, right? Like we get rid of Carr for Jimmy G, who you knew wasn't going to be an upgrade, right? So you're already downgrading at quarterback. Now he's hurt. You got O'Connell in there, and I mean, he's done okay, right? But he's not a franchise guy, right? So if you're Pearson, you're looking at this job. I mean, you have to have that conversation, right? You'd be like, hey, like this is going to take some time. If you think we're going to be a winner,
You don't know that.
hey, sometimes these billionaires need to hear it.
Yeah. Because the flip side for Pierce is he doesn't know how many shots he's actually going to get, and I think that's sometimes why you take a bad situation because you don't know when the next one is coming up.
That's fair.
You see how we like to recycle coaches already.
To be fair, though,
you're like,
if you're getting a coaching job, it's probably not a good situation.
Right.
Right? There's a reason that the job is open. So it's not like any of them are going to be ideal, but some of them are definitely better than others, right? Like the Chargers have a lot of nice pieces. If they were just competently ran, they probably would have won more games.
That ain't happening anymore because them guys are going to be gone. They can't afford to keep them there. The price tag's too high. A lot of them guys are getting moved.
Well, but that's where Harbaugh actually makes a lot of sense there because you have a franchise guy, you have some key pieces that you do get to keep, and then he has a unique position of not having to do NFL scouting because he coached against all these kids. So he's going to know some gems that maybe these scouts aren't going to know. He's going to be able to do some of the things that Pete Carroll was able to do when he first came in, right? Because he watched all these kids in real time. So if he were to go to the Chargers, he'd be able to backfill some of those things with guys that are going to go in the third round, fourth round, because he knows they're better than their draft stock is. Something similar if he goes to the Bears, right? He's going to get the first overall pick if he went up there. Eberflus is getting fired. Let's be honest. He did nothing this year that makes me think his job is safe. The fact that he's not fired already is amazing. But the firings have gone a little slower than I thought they were going to. Right? There's some guys still in jobs that I'm kind of surprised about. But
this is not a Staley thing.
What's that?
That's not Staley. This is not Eberflus is not a Staley situation. This is it's different.
It's different.
I'm shocked you got fired. I'm sorry, again. What you say?
I said it's different, but the same. Like it was just mismanaged, also, right? I mean, they didn't do anything that makes you think, hey, with what they have, they're going to be significantly better next year. Like I've seen nothing out of them that makes you think that. So if they were going to do a coaching change and a GM change and all of that, Harbaugh would actually be a good fit if he wanted to build something. Same with Washington, right? If he wanted to build something, those two locations make a lot of sense because they have some draft capital, they have actual capital, and he can kind of build what he wants. If he wants something that he doesn't need to do a ton of work for, right? He wants that used car, but it's certified used car. He'll jump in with the Chargers, right? Because it probably needs a couple of things, but you can win games tomorrow with it. The places that don't make any sense for him are like the Panthers, because that's just a dumpster fire. I mean, they've gone through 4 coaches in 2 years. That's impressive. Not impressive in a good way, but it's impressive.
Yeah.
So
and their owner is a hothead who's getting in trouble every other week now. So
pretty much.
I would stay away from that situation.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and of course, I don't necessarily think he would be great for like the Colts, right? It's I don't know. He could work in Atlanta, right? Go get a quarterback. They have some nice stuff on the roster. The defense isn't horrible. Something like that could work. But I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch to see where he goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you think about losing Wink, man?
They got. If I stayed on Twitter, I probably would know more. They probably talk about this stuff ad nauseum, but I'm not spending that much time, so I don't know all that's going on. But definitely a heated argument of some sort, which ain't the first time. I can tell they had beef. You can see it in body language in 1 or 2 games this season. Defense was ranked, 26th, 27th?
Something like that.
don't let the doorknob hit you, bro. I mean,
Well, I mean,
we need help, man. We're not.
I don't know if you can blame that all on Wink though, because it's tough to
That's
have
not
good
my
numbers
question.
if your offense
That
can't
wasn't
stay.
what that wasn't what I was doing.
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
blaming him at all for that. I don't know if Dayball doing that, but I mean, I think they just had a difference of opinion that was deep enough that Wink felt like he couldn't take that. But I think there's another wrinkle in all of this stuff that had nothing to do with us at all. I think Wink wants a head coaching job, and because he's looking for that and know he wasn't going to get that there, all of the angst he was already feeling, all the emotions, all the issues interpersonal between him and Dayball, it probably just overflowed to the top. Like, you know what? I can find a head coaching job out here somewhere.
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, he's
Maybe.
probably not wrong.
Yeah, Dayball's just getting this reputation as the angry guy who hates everybody. Like, I don't like the quarterbacks. I don't like the guys on the team. I don't like the coaches. Like, you need to hug or something. Like, somebody needs to hug.
To answer the question, I'm okay with moving on.
Right.
For me, Dayball's he's one of them guys where I'm kind of like watching him like with the other eye. I'm like, go on, mess up this year and watch what happens.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at with him. So it's like, I mean, I talked about him this year. I was like, I had the torches out for him this year.
Yeah.
I was ready to burn. Oh, you ready to crucify that man? I was ready, but yeah, I'm watching him this year, so I'm not really super excited about that. But we'll see what happens, man. But this is interrupting my train of thought.
Morning, Raj.
Good morning, man. I was just talking, and just all of a sudden everything just changed. What happened? Good morning, man.
He posted Raj.
I wasn't going to comment on it. I'm not going to pile on.
Right.
I love you.
So I think, did I tell this story? I'm driving back and listening to the Ole Miss and Penn State game, and the announcer comes on there and he uses the word apoplectic to describe Lane Kiffin and some play that he's upset with. I can remember the play at the time. I can't now. And I call Raj, because Raj jumps up at every 2-syllable or more word that you use on the show. And now he's tried to work that into every conversation. I've only heard the word apoplectic on sports broadcasts, believe it or not. So, but now it's going to be a weekly thing. So that's why
it's Raj's word of the day: toilet paper. Is that what we're doing?
Yes,
I used it multiple times when the Giants had games that they should have won and they lost. I feel like I used that. Used that term a couple of times, but I mean, the word of the day. I don't know about all that, but
I've only heard it. I've only heard it on a couple of sports broadcasts. So
you had one. You had one on your show yesterday.
Huh?
You had one on your show last night. So another word of the day, like that you used last night.
Yeah, but I didn't squandered. Like, I didn't even think that was a major word. It's just like
Raj was tremendous.
There's more than 4 letters. It's a big word, right?
He just looked at me like this, and I was like, "What? They did squander it? Like it was a lead." I didn't even think that was a real. So I don't know.
No. It's funny when somebody looks at you that intently, though, because then all of a sudden you're like, "Did I misuse it?" Like,
no, you used it correctly. It was glorious. Great job by you.
No.
Agreed.
I don't think you should sleep on Green Bay.
I mean,
go ahead and drop the ball.
We had this question last night. Yeah. A Dallas fan asked us last night, "Can Dallas make the Super Bowl?" And I said, I don't think they're beating San Francisco at San Francisco. And I said, and after the way Detroit played and the ending to that game, I give Detroit a little more faith if they make it and go. Like, they're not scared to go to Dallas and play.
No.
So I don't know that I put them above either one of those two. And then, like I said, that's considering getting past this first weekend. You just never know with Dallas in the playoffs. But I don't think they're better than San Francisco, and I think Detroit's going to give them a fight. So, if it all plays out,
I think the team that's going to be I mean, not really surprising, but surprising on how they started is the Eagles potentially get bounced by Tampa, like that, because that's a very real thing, right? They went 1-5 down the stretch here, so they're not playing good football. Yep. Hurts gets hurt, dislocates that middle finger. They got guys that are banged up all over the place. The defense is, at best a coffee filter. Like, everything rolls through. Like, it's really not.
If they put an actual coffee filter on the field, it would probably play better defense. At the very
For
least,
sure.
it might trip somebody up on the way by. So
I mean, that
Oh,
front, like if they just
nice.
dove on the ground, they might stop some running games. Like it's, yeah, no, I mean, it's a
Wow.
bad look for the Eagles, and Tampa has played pretty good football down the stretch.
Hey,
Again,
I forget who's the quarterback at Tampa though.
I don't know, some guy.
Say his name. Say his name. Come on, Bo.
I mean, no, to be
Say
fair,
his name. Say his name.
Baker has played well. He has played well. So, but this is
Who?
one of those. This is a game that
Did it hurt to say that?
it just so much.
It felt like it did.
But I think it is a game where the Eagles can easily get bounced in this wild card round.
Agreed.
I mean, it's
Easily.
Tampa's at home. They're playing way better football than the Eagles are, and I haven't seen anything out of the last few weeks that makes me think the Eagles are going to play better.
Right.
So
This whole conversation about the Cowboys and Super Bowls, it makes me chuckle for so many different reasons. Because after 20, I mean, I've been married longer than they've been in a deep playoff picture.
yeah,
And it's like expectations begin to fall after a decade, then another decade. You start shooting for lesser goals. It's like the fans that I know, the ones that I watch from a distance because I want to be around them. They don't even care about the Super Bowl part.
Yeah,
they can't. They just want to just be in the playoffs and win around. It's like, is that the ultimate goal?
I mean, for me with Dallas,
Super Bowl and they lost it. How do you think we feel?
Yeah.
How do you think we feel? They went to the Super Bowl and they lost it.
Sure.
We're still in the same spot we were before as Cowboy haters. We're like, we good. Nothing has changed. It's just a bigger stage that you failed on. It doesn't change anything. You got to win the whole thing. That's all that matters. And I don't.
Well, even with that, win a divisional round game.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not even worried about the Super Bowl. Win a divisional round game.
Well, I think they did that 2 or 3 years ago, so it's not really a goal anymore.
No, they haven't won it. They haven't been to a national or an NFC title game. They've lost to the
divisional round. They won a playoff game 2 or 3 years ago, man.
Well, yeah, they won a wild card game.
Yeah, I think y'all just talk about we're talking about winning, I guess, in the wild card round versus because they've expanded, I guess, how many rounds because they won last year. They won the first game last year, right?
Yeah, so they won in the wild card round, but they haven't made it through the divisional round in 25 years. So
they got to beat 4 teams to do that. I just don't see them doing it. They got to beat 4 teams to do that. They got to beat the Packers, number 1.
Yep.
That's not a done deal to me at all. That's going to be a great game to watch.
Then they'll probably have to beat Detroit.
If the Lions are next up, if the Lions or the 49ers are, if the Lions are next up, they got to beat them. They kind of didn't do that the last time. They had some help.
Right? Exactly.
To get that far.
And then
the Niners smoked. They beat the fire out of them boys last time they played them.
Yeah.
I'm saying, so if they get past all 3 of those, that gauntlet, then who would they play in the Super Bowl?
Probably the Ravens.
AFC. I don't even think I don't think they're gonna beat them.
I don't think they beat the Ravens.
So they had to beat 4 teams, and I just don't see it happening. So we could talk about it, but I'm gonna laugh and chuckle every time I hear it. I'm like, I don't see it happening.
No, and that's why I say
let's pump the brakes. Cowboys, man, you guys have an awesome offense.
Yep. No, that's why I say let's pump the brakes on the Super Bowl and just worry about getting through the next game because
game by game. That's a smart thing that most Cowboy fans don't do because they ain't smart.
Trying to get heat in this show. Here we go.
Whatever. At me.
Yeah, Baker pull off the upset. Absolutely. I mean, they probably get boat race the next round, but they can. They definitely can. Because if they win, then they'd end up going up against probably the Niners.
Yeah, the Niners get whoever is like the lowest seed to advance. So if you say no other upsets, then it'll be Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and then
how many points
in that scenario, Tampa gets smoked. In that scenario,
points you have to score to win?
Just one more than the other guy.
Okay, that was insightful.
I
mean, that's all it takes. Like you can win a game 3-0, not in today's league, but it's possible.
If you're playing the Patriots, maybe.
True.
Unless you're the Eagles. then no. For the Eagles, you're probably looking at, I don't know, 25, 30 points for a victory. I mean, maybe starting. So
the Bucks don't really do that much.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's why I think they can do something against the Eagles, but as soon as they're done with that, it's done. Because everyone else in the playoffs are like real playoff teams, and the Eagles are just trending the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like if we were talking about this in week 11, where they were 10-1, I'd have a different opinion on this. But going 1-5 down the stretch,
yeah.
I mean, and not that they were winning in impressive fashion before that, right? Like they were backing into wins, but they were finding ways to win. And if you're consistently doing that, cool, whatever. But at this point, you're 1-5 in the last 6, and guys are hurt. Nothing's good. Nothing really seems to be getting better. I don't see that working out. But Tampa's not a great team. So as soon as they go against a Dallas, a Lions, Niners, I mean, it doesn't matter. Any one of those 3 teams is going to beat up on the Bucks.
Yeah. The Bucks got to grind them down. It has to be a low scoring defensive game. I think that's the only way. I don't see Baker throwing the. I don't see an offensive airway battle between him and Hurts. I just don't see that happening. So it's going to be a defensive matchup.
I'm opposite on that. I think they can put up points on the Eagles. I mean, everyone else has, Yeah,
I mean,
Arizona's marching down the field. Seahawks, it wasn't a high-scoring game, but when it came down to it, they drove 90-plus yards to get the game-winning touchdown, and in chunks, too. And I think that's the thing. I think that's what Baker will like, hitting Evans 30, 40 yards down the field, stuff like that. So
I ain't saying he can't do that, but he's not throwing the way Kyler Murray is potentially throwing it. So I don't know. That's
you don't think he can throw it as well as Geno did?
Huh?
Or
Drew
Lock,
Lock,
really.
Or Lock, I mean. Yeah, Drew Lock. You don't think he can throw better than Drew Lock? Because Drew Lock got the win against him.
I think Lock is going to always want to throw more. I don't think Baker wants to do that. I don't think Tampa wants him to do that.
Yeah? All right.
I don't think so. Or
So,
he would,
that's another story. since Raj is dropping in here, let's talk about this KC Miami game that is going to be the game time is -4. It's going to have a feel of -10. There's blizzard conditions right now, so there's going to be snow on the field. But it's on Peacock, so nobody's going to see it because you have to have a streaming service to watch this thing. Seems like a huge misstep from the NFL. Yeah. And, at the end of the day, you should let your fans actually watch your games and not require them. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's like some 7-day trial for you to try Peacock, and it's probably going to be extraordinarily hard to cancel it before you get charged for your first month. Right? So I'm sure there's going to be some crazy, you can have it for 7 days, and then we're going to make you jump through a bunch of hoops and wait on hold or something to get rid of it. But, welcome to streaming. Right?
Yes.
But, I mean, I feel like this is just a horrible look for the NFL. I understand that you are the marketing juggernaut, but I mean, let your fans watch the game, because it sounds like, from what I was reading, you're not even going to have like the regional option. Like it is Peacock and that's it. Like it's not going to be on NFL Plus. It's not going to be on NFL Network. It's not going to be on your regional affiliates. It sounds like it's Peacock or you don't get to see it. I don't have Peacock, so I guess I'm going to watch that one at a sports bar or something that does have Peacock. I'm sure there is one somewhere here in Washington. If you're watching this show, let me know if there is. I'll come check your bar out because I want to watch the game, but I'm not buying Peacock for it.
All right. Well,
it's just the weirdest. It's just the weirdest decision. And then it's a Saturday night game, a night that traditionally most NFL people aren't, watching football anyway. So I don't know. Just a weird. I was trying to go through like why this one, which games, and there he goes. Why this game? Do they feel like the KC pool would still get them? Is this the reason why?
I think it's because they have that narrative of the.
Here we go.
Right. I think it was because they have that Tyreek is coming back to KC, right? Because this particular playoffs has a lot of storyline options, right? Like with Green Bay and Dallas, you got McCarthy going against Green Bay, the team that fired him, right? And then you have, you got Stafford versus Goff, the teams that traded each other for each other. You got, this one here where you got Tyreek coming back. If some crazy stuff happens, you could have Flacco going to Baltimore, right? Like any of the people that believe in the script writing, like this is their favorite playoff scenario because everything's a storyline at the moment. I don't know, but what's that? Oh, I was just gonna say I don't know that it's on Peacock.
Yeah,
I feel you. I want to be contrarian. That's not my goal, but in this case, I think I have to. What it reads, it sounds like they had this deal about $110 million worth for the AFC wild card game specifically, not knowing who was in it. That's what it sounds like.
Sure. Yeah.
As far as the Peacock part goes, I use Peacock for wrestling and for some football, I guess, and just a couple of shows that I like.
Oh,
it doesn't cost a lot.
So just like FaceTime us just
I can do a whole bunch of stuff.
We'll just watch your Peacock.
Let me know how I can help you. I mean, I'm totally cool with you. You know what I'm saying? But I've had some good experiences with the streaming, which is like great because I don't see a scenario where I ever go back to cable or satellite ever again in my life.
Sure.
Been there, done that. Don't want to go back. So whole streaming services is not going to mess around and screw everybody over because that's why I'm 100% in streaming land right now. I'm not doing anything else. So hopefully that doesn't turn something bad. But
well, I mean, the thing there is it just depends on how many streaming services you want to have, right? Because I mean, at some point, it becomes as expensive as cable.
You got to manage it. Of course.
But instead of paying it to one place, now you're paying it to a bunch of different streaming services to be able to watch things. So I mean,
because everybody has exclusive rights to some particular thing, so that's why you had to bounce around all these places. It's a big shell game, to be honest with you. But I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to do this thing with this. They have really low ratings. They'll learn from it, and they probably will never do it again. So
hopefully,
if everybody finds a way and they scrap and claw and find a way to watch it, it's not going to really solve anything. They'll be doing it again next year as well.
Yeah, which is why they probably picked this game. They're not going to pick like a Pittsburgh Buffalo game to do something like this with, because we'll just be like, okay, only people in Buffalo will be watching that one. But so they try to pick a game, like you said, with a good storyline with Kansas City and Mahomes and blah blah blah. But I hate the decision.
I don't think that's what they did though.
Yeah, I mean, to U's point though, is this was decided long before they knew who was going to be in the playoff. But that being said, they knew the AFC wildcard game was going to be a good game, right?
Sure.
So
the playoff game, yeah. I mean,
but yeah, I mean, I don't love it from it's NBC, right? So it seems
like local market's going to have it. Local market's going to be able to watch the game. So if you're in,
so what I had read before was they weren't, and I was like, wow, that's really messed up.
I thought that, but I had to read it again. Okay, so I think if you're in KC or in Miami, you can watch the game. Anything outside of that, you in Peacock. That's what I thought I understood. We can verify it, but that's what I thought I heard. Which sucks for everybody else who doesn't live in KC. Miami, everybody wants to do that, but it's Peacock. So I don't know what the plan is with this. Peacock's getting a lot more games this year. I've been noticing that a lot of Peacock being streamed in. I'm like, okay, so now we got TNF on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Now we're getting wild card games in Peacock. I'm like,
and there's been some games there's some games that were exclusively on ESPN Plus, right? So I mean, they're moving them around and they're making it so you have to end up with a bunch of different streaming services to be able to watch these things, which I don't love. And of course, I guess at the end of the day, this is working out great for NBC because we are free plugging Peacock like nothing else, right? Like everybody is free plugging this streaming service. So even if they never do it again, I bet they end up with a lot of people signing up for no other reason than they want to see this game. And everyone is giving them so much free advertising, it's unreal.
Basically. And yeah, you can watch it in KC.
Okay.
It's in that local market. But if you're in Miami, yeah, you got to get the trial or anywhere else.
All right. So I wanted to touch on this question that you posed last week. And It was a poll that you put out, and it was, if you're not into sports, would you watch a sports related podcast? And you had an answer in there that made absolutely no sense to me, and I wanted your guys' take on it. It was, I really like sports culture, but I don't watch sports. And one, that doesn't actually answer your question. And two, I'm not even sure what that means, because if you don't watch sports, how do you even understand some of the sports culture? I'm not saying you have to play sports or anything like that, but if you just don't like sports, like, man, like, I don't know. I mean,
why would you? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, the obvious answer is if I'm not into it, I'm not watching a podcast about it. Right. Like, I'm not watching a gardening podcast because, I'm not doing that. But at the end of the day, it was a weird way to answer the question. It's like, okay, well, you like the culture. So does that mean you like clothing styles or like
or the competition or like none of it? I'm not like, I mean, you hit it perfectly. I'm not watching if I didn't know sports at all, I'm not tuning into this. I had no idea what you guys are talking about for an hour. I wouldn't know what teams you're talking about. I wouldn't know what players, like all this stuff would be. I mean, it's Greek to me. It's Greek to me. So what am I doing for the hour? I'm just, if we were just friends and I didn't like it, I'd click on the show. So you guys got a click and I'd go do something else. Like I'm not commenting. I'm not doing it. I'll support you, but I don't get it. You're either you like sports or you don't like it, So I
mean, that's wrestling to me, right? Like I'm not into wrestling, not my thing. But I got friends that'll do a wrestling show. So I'll click on it, drop a like, make sure you get the view and everything. But it's like, it doesn't mean anything to me because I never got into wrestling. Right. And, so if it was, but if you take it a step further and you're just like, I just don't like sports. I mean, I don't know.
I'll even take yours. I'll take yours. I used to really watch wrestling. So I enjoyed it. And I could say, hey, did I like the wrestling culture? Yes. Have I watched it in years? No. So I'm not going to watch a wrestling podcast right now because I don't know the storylines they're talking about. I don't know the players in the game anymore. So I don't know the participants. So even if I do like the culture, it doesn't make sense to me to say I'm going to tune into wrestling podcast because I'd still be lost. So
sure. Well, and I was very similar in, when I was a kid, I really liked NASCAR, right? Mm-hmm. And just car racing in general. But I haven't watched the sport in years. So, I'm not going to listen to a NASCAR podcast because it's like, I don't even know who's racing anymore.
Right. That's the thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was a strange response.
It definitely was. It definitely was.
I thought I understood what sports culture meant. And then I had this exchange and maybe I don't know what I thought I knew. Because to me, sports culture is sports.
Right?
It's the whole camaraderie. It's the tailgating. It's the podcast. It's the YouTube channel. It's the live events on TV or on Peacock. I'm saying it's like that's the culture. Discussing it on Twitter and having memes going back and forth and retweets and quote tweets. That's what going to bars and watching the game and having some hot wings. Yep. That's the sports. Fantasy football over in the corner at Buffalo Wild Wings and got 10 guys over there screaming and making picks on the clock for their fantasy football draft. That is the culture.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But you don't watch sports. I'm sorry.
You're not going to get what we're talking about.
In the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in the woods with no lights and nothing. We lost. That doesn't make any sense to me. And she even sent another message this morning, keeping it going. I'm like, we don't understand you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, we are up against it time-wise, so we got to jump off of here. If you were tuning in, be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. And, of course, if you are watching on Roku, be sure to stay on for the next hour. And, of course, catch us on the morning show every morning from from noon to 2 right here on Roku. Other than that, for me, Mr. U, and my guy Herb, enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy, guys.
My time wasn't squandered.